Hi, everyone. I had a little bit of a technical difficulty. I'm not a little too suave. I couldn't get my laptop to work. Ah! And so now I have to use my phone. So hopefully this won't fall over, but if it does, we'll just kind of move on with it. Um, I know that everybody has hopped on yet, but that's okay. Whoever decides to hop on, you can do it now, you can do it later. I just thought maybe since a lot of people are kind of going through some really hard things right now, I kind of go over some like one topic. I think about negative self-talk because it sounds like something that we do ourselves quite often. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Stacy Cipher, and I help admin the Amos for Hope. And then I'm an executive director for the Speaking the Heart podcast network, and I have my own coaching, which is Cipher Consulting. And sometimes my really good co-host, Sarah Allison, we do Slay the Stigma together. So that's just a little bit about me. But I'm hoping everybody is having a great day. And if not, I hope you have a great evening or maybe even a better tomorrow. But kind of let's dive in a little bit about negative self-talk. A lot of us find ourselves kind of being toxic to ourselves, not being a really good friend. And I find that when we're not a good friend to ourselves, then it kind of spills over to the people that we are friends with, our coworkers, family members, what have you. And with that inner critic, I think that little voice in our head that tells us things that aren't good, like, I shouldn't eat that, that's not very healthy, or maybe I shouldn't do this because it's not wise. But sometimes that inner critic can be more harmful than it's helpful. And I know that particularly during these times where we're more in isolation, we're less in the social realm of things, it makes it a little bit harder to connect, and so we're a little bit more harder on ourselves. And so we get more into the self-negative talk that it can bring us down, and it makes our day bad. And it's something that we experience whether we're under a lot of stress, because like right now it is kind of stressful. I don't know about you, but I know I can be stressed out. And I've seen some of the comments that I've seen in the groups where you're like, oh, I'm so stressed out, this is going on, and well, I don't know what to do. Well, kind of be a good friend to yourself. One of the things that we forget about is us. We forget to love ourselves. We forget to talk nice to ourselves. And so when we're getting into the stress, not only does it affect us when we negative self-talk, people are seeing us negative self-talk by our actions or expressions or how I react. And you're thinking, well, everybody does it. Well, yeah, we all do. Pretty much we all do. And if we're not careful, then that negative self-talk can actually start kind of helping, getting into your depression, getting into your anxiety. It can just make you a foul person all across the board, not meaning to. It's just something that we've kind of grown up and done. And I know that self-talk can take many, many forms. Sometimes self-talk can be positive, and that's what you want. But how do we condition ourselves to do that? Because it's like, I gotta love myself today, or you're looking in the mirror and like, oh, you know what? You look like crap, and that's being mean to yourself. And, or saying I can never do anything right, or, kind of looking at, like if you're a student and you get a C on your test, you're thinking, oh, I'm so stupid. Why couldn't I get an A? And I'll never be good in college, or I'll never be good at this, or I'll never be good at that. So basically what you're kind of doing is you're being a very hard person on yourself. You're kind of blaming yourself instead of liking yourself. And I know with your friends, everybody has friends. And when you go to your friend, are you going to tell them, you suck, I hate you, I don't want to talk to you anymore, you can't do anything? And I'm sure a lot of you probably said, well, I wouldn't talk that way with my friend. And that's precisely what you're doing. You're going to need to talk to yourself like you are your friend. So like any type of inner dialogue that you're going to have going on in your mind, you kind of want to make sure that you're limiting the negative side of what you're telling yourself, kind of make more positive changes in your life, so that way it diminishes the negativity. And you're thinking, yeah, I can't do that. Well, you can. You really most certainly can if you're in that mindset and if you've worked on trying to do it. It's not something that I can wake up and next day and have it done. It's not going to work that way, and that's okay. And you just have to take a little bit of time. For me, it took a little bit of time for me to look at myself and say, gosh, I love you. You're so wonderful. It took a long time. I would get up sometimes in the morning and be crabby And I would look at myself and say, God, you look awful. You suck. I don't want to talk to you today. You know, you're just like looking at yourself like that. And if you look in the mirror, even on your worst day, and you say, you know what, mirror, hey, Stacy, I love you. Even though you're meeting crabby right now, I love you and you're going to have a great day. That way you're setting yourself up to succeed as opposed to putting yourself down to self-sabotage, which is a whole different topic. But basically with we're trying to do that inner talking, sometimes we have like a lot of consequences that come with it. When you're negative talking to yourself, you're limiting your thinking. You're telling yourself what you can't do as opposed to what you're capable of doing. Sometimes people think to themselves like, I'm not good for this. My boss tells me I suck. Well, that's okay if your boss tells you that, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's true. You're perfect in what you do and how you do it. Maybe you need to learn a little bit of things, but there's nothing wrong with needing to learn something. There's nothing wrong with taking time to learn how to do it. So it doesn't mean you're not capable. You're completely capable. Hi, Tracy. Glad to see that you're here. And I hope that when you are talking to yourself, that you try to not pick yourself apart. And because a lot of times when we pick ourselves apart, we're taking pieces of ourselves away. And we're giving it to whomever had called us in their past traumas. So, like, say you were in school and someone bullied you, called you ugly, weird, stupid, whatever the kids can think of. Or maybe your parents said, you know, you're stupid. Why'd you do that? And then call you names saying, you know, I brought you up to be smarter than that. And then you're keeping those pieces. So when you do make a mistake, instead of forgiving yourself, you're saying, you suck. You can't do this. You're never going to be good enough. And that's incorrect. You are good enough. And you will achieve what you want to achieve. It's just going to take time. So when we're doing these types of things, that's where some of it contributes to our depression. Now, there is clinical depression, which is a little bit different because it's not something that, you know, is circumstantial. It's something that you're kind of born with. But if you're feeling depressed and a little bit more down, maybe you're more isolated because you're a social person or whatever, and it's kind of depressing, and you're sitting there thinking to yourself that, you know, I'm dragging myself or I'm damaging myself by sitting here and not talking to that person. There's times where I don't want to talk to anybody. I'm like you guys. There's times where I just want to sit in my own sadness and just feel awful. And there's no reason to. Hi, Bams. Yeah, my little dog. There's no reason to. There's no reason to sit there and put blame on yourself. And it's kind of a challenge. Sometimes it's really challenging to feel that. And you have to dig deep to yourself, because I know that there's times where I have to really dig deep. And that's why I keep a little affirmation journal for myself. And with that little affirmation journal, when I'm feeling like crap and I hate myself, I'm looking at that little note that somebody messaged me the other day and said, hey, I was so glad that you talked to me today, or hey, it's nice seeing you smile. I remember those things, put that down so that way I can remember to remind myself that there is good in me. Because a lot of times when you're in a bad relationship or you're in a toxic, abusive household or whatever the circumstances may be, you take that to heart and you label yourself that. And that's what negative self-talk is doing, is it's breaking you down and it's tearing you apart. And you've got to love yourself. You've got to look at yourself and say, you know what? I do deserve to be loved. I am enough and I am worthy. But the problem is that you're self saying, I can't be loved. This person said I'm crazy. Well, who cares if they said you're crazy? Are they in their right state of mind? Or even if they're in their right state of mind, does it matter? Do they know the circumstances? Do they know how you feel deep inside? The thing is that they don't have to understand it. They just have to accept it. Accept it where you are. And if they can't, then they're not your people. They're not your tribe. They're not your village. And then so the second thing with negative self-talk too is it can damage your relationships. I know that there's times where I have felt I didn't deserve this person's attention, so I just immediately blocked them. I thought, I'm not going to even try. I'm just going to just say, well, stop, or you're starting right there in your tracks. I don't need you. And that sabotages, because I could have met a really great person, but I chose to sit there and say, you know what, all these people said I suck, so I'm sure that person's going to make that same assumption. So don't let that person decide for you who you are. You decide that who you are. And you're a great person. You're a loving person. You're a kind person. I have to apologize. She's kind of an attention little girl here. But the thing is that when you are going through your trials and your tribulations, you've got to start doing some negative self-talk to yourself. And one of the drawbacks that we have with, I know you don't like self-negative talk, do you? You got to talk to your critic and say, when you're telling yourself you're not good enough and you're not doing this, say, well, why am I not? Cross-examine your critic. Catch that critic in its steps. So when you start that thought, when you say, I'm just not good enough, I can't do this, then cross-examine it. Why can't you do this? What is keeping you from doing this? So for me, if I have a problem, figuring out a problem like with the computer, like doing my life, I actually had a really good friend, Allison, who said, are you in Chrome? And so that helped. And so I didn't feel as stupid because I did reach out, and she kind of reconfirmed that it's a little tricky. So saying that, catching, is it helping me telling myself I suck, or is it hurting me? So before I do that, if I tell myself, oh, gosh, what a horrible day, my dog pooped on the floor and I can't find my clothes, and this is just going to be a terrible day, I've already started self-negative talk, and I've got to sit there and stop that train. When I hear that woo woo saying I can't do this or that or the other thing, that's when I got to say stop. I've got to stop. And you can yell stop if it's in your mind so much, because I know I get cluttered with thoughts and there's all these things that go on, and it's like quick, and it's a round little wheel, and there's a hamster, or maybe there's a gerbil, or maybe there's a bird that flies in, and you're everywhere at one time. You sometimes have to put on those brakes and hit stop. And one of the things that I like to do, and I don't know if any of you do this or not, but if I'm going to start giving myself negative names, I'm going to give my inner critic a nickname. I'm just going to give it a nickname, and I just call it Baby Stacy. Baby Stacy, you need to be quiet because you're hurting my feelings. And that's what I will tell to myself. And it's okay, because you're trying to talk to yourself like you would your friend. So if you hear a friend doing that, you wouldn't want to call him baby or whatever, but you would tell him to stop. That's not good behavior. It's hurting you more than it's helping you. So you just kind of got to talk to yourself in a way that you can change that train of thought and change the way you're looking at that. So instead of saying, I can't do this, then a positive word to tell yourself, this is challenging. Doesn't mean that's you're incapable of doing it. It's just right now, this is challenging. And it's okay to be challenging. Instead of saying, you know what, I hate this, or I hate that, or I hate doing this, you can say, you know what, I don't like it, don't love it, but I have to do it. And then the other thing is that even if you don't like it, you can say, well, I don't prefer to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. I am going to try. So when you talk more to yourself with a gentle language, and you give yourself, a little bit of a boost and say, hey, you're doing the best you can, you're trying. That helps you because of the fact that you would do that to a friend. So if you think like a friend and try to nurture yourself, you're going to find your negative talk is going to shift into perspective. You're going to shift that little perspective just a tiny bit. And when you shift it, when you're saying, you know what, I can do this, but right now I'm not able. Instead of saying, I can't, just say, I can. So let's go to this one little thing about saying, the negative self-talk, like with depression. When you get up in the morning and you were sobbing from the night before because you had a horrible day, and you know that feeling is going to carry over. And when you get up in the morning, you got to tell yourself, stop. You're going to do the best you can do today, and you're going to try and do it with a smile. It doesn't have to be a, hey, I'm guys smiling, I'm excited. It can be, I'm trying. I really am trying. And just let people know you're trying. Maybe you had a boss that came in and said, you're not doing this and this, and just say, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm trying. He doesn't need to know everything about what you're going through. But at least if you can't talk to your manager or coworkers or whatever, at least you can try to tell yourself, it's okay. It's okay to have a bad day. Say it out loud. Say, you know what? It's okay. I'm not being ridiculous. I'm just having a moment. So you just got to stop those thoughts, replace it with some good thoughts. If you're having trouble figuring out what those good thoughts are and how to get them, that's the reason why you want to journal. You want to journal some good thoughts from other people and find out what it is that you can do to uplift yourself. Maybe it's reading a book. Maybe it's reading a passage. Maybe it's watching a video. Maybe it's reaching out to a friend. Maybe it's creating arts and crafts. Whatever it is, know that you're capable of being able to overcome the self-talk. It just takes time. And I know that I could go in a lot more depth into that, but let me see what's going on here. I know I could go into a lot more depth, but I thought that I would just kind of quick hit on some of the things that you guys may be experiencing right now. And I know negative self talk is one of them because I do see comments and then there's like, I can't go on, I can't do this. And you may not be able to go on as you are in your negative self, but you're able to go on in a positive way when you take the steps and you take time to do it. I don't know how sappy everybody is, but there's a lot of apps out there, and I like to share apps because I do. There's an app that I use. It's a meditation app where I put in the days that I'm going to. It's got a schedule where I'm going to meditate for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever I need, and it reminds me to breathe. So I'll breathe in, and then I'll breathe out. I'm okay. And then if you keep doing that, if you keep reminding yourself and at least do those throughout the day, that app retrains you to think more a little bit in a positive, okay, I'm okay now. I needed a chance to calm down. I'm okay now. So there's also apps for anxiety. There's apps for PTSD. There isn't so much an app for self-negative talk. So that's kind of why I wanted to come on today for just a short time to kind of let you kind of absorb a little bit of what I do. And I'm happy to answer any questions you have or any concerns. I probably won't be able to do it on this live, but I will go back through the comments and anything you would like to share with me. And if you want me to do another one, I'm happy to do so. Sarah Allison, who's watching, thank you, Sarah. Maybe on the stigma, we can actually go through a little bit more of how we can overcome the self-talk in steps, like I had, talked about, just kind of stopping in its track, cross-examine your inner self, asking, is this helpful? Is it going to help me or is it going to hurt me? And am I being my best friend or am I being my worst friend? So those are some of the things that we can cover later on. But I wanted everybody to know that you are going to be able to have a fantastic moment or time, and maybe not an entire day, but cherish the moments that you do get, that you can feel accomplished, and like the small goals. If the small goal was to get up in the morning and get dressed, then praise yourself. Good job. You did a great job getting up this morning. You did a great job not yelling at somebody. Maybe you're one of those that when you wake up in the morning, you want to just yell and scream. Instead, that morning you woke up and you didn't yell and scream. Celebrate that. So celebrate the small yous and celebrate what it is that you can do for yourself, because in the long run, once you start loving yourself, everybody around you is going to see that you love yourself and that you're committed to yourself so you can help others. And I hope that this was a little bit helpful to you guys. Just know that you matter, you are loved, you are worthy, and I'm glad that you stopped by today. Have a great day.